Hi everyone, hope you all had a wonderful February. In this month's report, we'll check the lake levels and I'll let you know whether fish were biting. A different spotlight this month where I tell you a little bit more about my great mate Pete Wilson and his Australian Highcountry Photography journey. Paddy Kerrigan received an Order of Australia medal on Australia Day, and I'll tell you more about this amazing local. There's been lots of pics and videos posted during February, and I'll show you a few of them. There's Pick of the Month and more. Just before we look at where the fish were biting this month, I wanted to thank everyone who sent in messages following last month's report. Your kind comments, support, and suggestions are really appreciated. As you know, I'll be doing the reports monthly for a while, so it was great to see so many people still tuning in and watching them. The January report has had over 2,200 views so far. Thank you. Don't forget, the reports can only be as good as the content I receive. So if you have anything Eucumbene related, no matter how old, please post it to the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group or send it to the email on screen and you might see yours in a future report. Taking a look at the lake levels, and all three main trout lakes fell during February, which isn't surprising given the time of the year and the well below average rainfall that fell over the summer. Lake Eucumbene fell 1.7% this month and sits 3.7% lower than it was at this time last year. Tantango Dam dropped back below 10% after falling 1.1% this month, while Lake Jindabyne ended the month 3.6% lower than it started it. Lake levels should continue to decline over the coming months before rising from late August. The warm summer weather saw lots of anglers out and about during February trying their luck. Lots of fish were caught using a variety of methods. Fly fishing one of the most productive, with lots of evening insects stirring up the trout. Bank and boat fishing had been tougher, but those who persevered were rewarded too. Tomo posted these great pics of just some of the big browns he caught up at Eucumbene between January and February. Tomo adding the hopper fishing had been excellent, so had Polaroiding the shallows. Tomo also posted some amazing video of his catches, and here's just a small sample. Look at the blue sky and sunshine, proving once again you can catch fish at Eucumbene at any time. If you want to see the whole video, log into the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group. Thanks for sharing, Tomo.
Gotcha. Nice. Took me a while to find some this afternoon. I found this one. A lot bigger when you're up high and they're a fair way out. There's that little brownie. Yeah, nice little fish. I'll get him back on his happy way. Go the hoppers.
Gavin was up at the lake in early February and had a great time despite the winds. Gavin using hopper patterns around Middling Bank to land one good brown, and he pulled the hook on a better one after a great run. Gavin tried one of Jim Jay's recent suggestions about chasing the hoppers into the water, but unfortunately nothing was rising to him this time. Gavin released this lovely fish to swim another day. Stuart and his mate Blake had a great few days up at the lake during February. Stuart reporting that even though the lake is dropping, it hasn't stopped the fish feeding on top. It has altered their diet a little though, with the odd mud-eye, boatman and water snail showing up in their stomachs. It was Blake's first trip to Lake Eucumbene, Stuart rigging him up with a float to fish grasshoppers. It did the trick, with Blake landing 4 fish on his very first day. Blake took this short video of Stuart landing a lovely brown.
Nice fish. Beautiful fish.
Maxim spent 5 days up at the lake during the month and had some great sessions on the fly. Maxim catching several big fish, including this one. All fish caught using grasshopper patterns. Maxim also landed this big brown, which he released to swim another day, and it's fair to say he was pretty stoked with his catch. Here's Maxim.
Have a look at that. That is what you come to the Snowy Mountains for. One of these. Oh, on the dry fly. Absolutely magnificent. Have a look at the size of that. Oh, and it's only 9:30 in the morning.
Warren and mate Greg caught up for a day out on the water in mid-February and had a great time. As always, Warren landed and released some beautiful fish. Warren added brownies are a size up this year, with most over 2 pounds and some up over 4 pounds. Warren saying with the water dropping quickly now and the warm water, time on the water was needed to get the rewards. Warren releasing many of his catches to swim another day.
Nice brownie. 1.85. Just over 4.
Warren ending his trip with a stopover at the Bemboka Cafe on his way home, which overlooks his old dairy farm. It's a beautiful spot, Warren, and they do a pretty good pie down that way too. Yora was driving through the mountains in mid-February and decided to stop for an hour at Jens Bay. Yora caught a nice fish that got away just as he was taking the pic. Yora also found someone's handcrafted lure with 2 bent trebles, adding they must have had quite a fish on. A few people commented that this was a Stuckey lure made by Peter Stuckey from Tumut, and they are some of the best lures for Eucumbene. George and his brother Manny took a trip to Buckanderra in late February. George adding it was his first trip back to Eucumbene in 40 years. The boys taking the boat out around Wainui Bay. It was tough going with the heat, falling lake and variable wind conditions. George and Manny landed some great fish, mostly all rainbows. They also lost a couple of big browns. The boys saying it was a lot of trial and error, but the yellow cricket hoppers produced the fish. Glad you had such a great time, boys, and I hope it's not another 40 years until you make another visit. Christopher spent some time up at the lake during the month, and while the fish weren't cooperating, the yabbies certainly were. In Christopher's words, stuff the trout, these are far easier to catch. Sean posted these pics after cleaning a couple of his recent Lake Eucumbene catches. Sean catching the pics, ants, beetles, and other things. Thanks for posting, Sean. It's a great insight into what the lake fish are currently eating. This month, Jim posted one of his favourite flies for targeting trout who love feeding on grasshoppers. Jim said these are super easy to tie and gets the job done. Well, I'm not sure I could tie one, Jim, but thanks again for sharing with us, mate. Tight lines. Robert posted a couple more of his favourite flies this month. Possum and deer hair caddis. Robert adding these are very productive in Eucumbene. Thanks for sharing with us, Robert. Tony received some Stuckey lures during February and they're now available for sale. Tony has a 60mm Stuckey lure in the coal colour on the left and the 50mm baby Stuckey lure in the lady beetle colour on the right. If you're interested in grabbing yourself one, please reach out to Tony via Facebook Messenger. Meanwhile, my good mate Paul posted this pic of some of his besties from years gone by. A great collection, Paul, and I wonder how many trout you've caught with these. Thanks for sharing, mate. Something a little different for this month's local spotlight. We've seen so many wonderful photos from Pete over the last couple of years as he's travelled through his big backyard, the northern end of the Kosciuszko National Park, capturing the mountains in all their glory. I've known Pete since 1980 when we attended Monero High School together in Cooma. When I lived at Adaminaby, we used to catch the school bus into Cooma each morning from near Lee Stewart's shop, which was opposite the Big Trout. We've been great mates for 45 years. But what about Pete himself? Pete posted these 2 pics recently, adding his fishing journey had been one of many highs over the years. The photo on the left. Pete's trout fishing journey on Lake Eucumbene started back in the 1970s. This is a pic of Pete and his younger brother David taken at Providence Flats in January 1976 with 2 great trout. Pete said he can still remember the trout's teeth cutting into his fingers. This was just a few short months before Pete's parents made the decision to pack up the family in Sydney and move to Adaminaby when they took over the Adaminaby store in May 1976. Pete's saying he has never left the place due to its fabulous fishing and 4 great seasons in the mountains. Photo 2 on the right. Pete said while this isn't the biggest fish he's caught in the lake, it's the best conditioned rainbow he's caught. Pete catching the fish on a mudder in 1990 in the late afternoon at Jens Bay. The fish measured 50.5 centimetres and was 4 pounds 8 ounces cleaned. And as you can see, Pete got the trout taxidermied. Pete added it's for these reasons above that he now posts about his love and adventures in the mountains because, in his words, this amazing area is just too good not to share. And we all agree with you there, Pete. Keep living the dream and keep up the great work, mate. Speaking of wonderful locals, my good friend Danielle Kerrigan posted this pic of her wonderful mum and dad, Jan and Patty. Many people watching this video will know or will have heard of Paddy Kerrigan and his wonderful service to the Snowy Mountains and its people over many decades. Well, I'm thrilled to announce that Paddy was awarded with the Medal of the Order of Australia, the OAM, on Australia Day. It's a fantastic and thoroughly deserved award of recognition for Paddy. Paddy came to Australia in 1953 to work on the Snowy scheme. His first job was as a carpenter on the Tumut 1 and Tumut 2 power stations. Paddy was also a migrant work representative. When Paddy started, there were only 7 workers who could speak English, but his experience reading building plans meant he was able to explain plans to non-English speaking workers. Once his work with the Snowy scheme was complete, Paddy saw the opportunity for tourism at Old Adaminaby and Lake Eucumbene. The rest is, as they say, history. My early memories of Paddy were from the late 70s, when my dad would hire a Paddy's boat and we'd leave from the pontoons in the early light for a fish. I can still remember the cold seeping up through the aluminium seats. I could go on for hours about all the things Paddy has done for the region, but the following gives you an idea of just how amazing his contribution has been. He was operator of Paddy's boats in the 60s to the 90s, built the underwater observatory on Lake Eucumbene in the 1970s. He was part of the preservation, purchase and relocation of a 100-year-old 3-storey brick Snowy home. He co-established a memorial to commemorate the Irish men and women who died during construction of the Snowy scheme. He was a former repairer for the Kosciuszko huts. He was a firefighter at the Old Adaminaby Rural Fire Brigade, a former member of the Search and Rescue Services on Lake Eucumbene, and in 2025 he was Cooma Citizen of the Year. In closing, Daniel wanted to congratulate her dad on his AOM, adding it's not an isolated event, but many years in the making and a celebration of many things he's contributed to over the years. There was even a note from Paddy who said, "Don't think for a second I was alone in promoting the area. Many other people were involved also." Paddy passing on his wishes to everyone who's reached out following his award. If you want to read more, grab a copy of the Monero Post. Thanks for your service, Paddy. We saw some of the great fish catches earlier. In this section of the report, we'll take a look at some of the wonderful pics and videos of Lake Eucumbene and region taken by locals and visitors alike. Most will be from this month, but we'll also have some nostalgic and more historical ones. I'll let you know how to get your photos and videos to me later in the report, and you might see yours in future. I'd love to see them, old or new. Graham posted this amazing drone video he took at sunset in late January. To get your bearings, here's Graceley Island, Mailila Bay to the left and Collingwood on the right. The video does a loop anti-clockwise, panning towards Buckandera, Frying Pan and Middling Bank before turning back and capturing Jens Bay, Old Adaminaby, Angler's Reach, Graceley Island and the Eucumbene Dam and Braemar Bay. It's a fantastic video, Graham. It's great to see our wonderful lake from 240 metres above the ground. Thanks for sharing. Nick was up at the lake during the summer and posted these great pics. Looks like a very peaceful spot to wet a line, Nick. Michael posted these pics of a big brown he was about to cook. Just look at that deep pink flesh. Michael's post generated a lot of comments on the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group, with many suggesting the vibrant flesh colour indicated the trout had a good diet of yabbies and other crustaceans. Mark adding you'd pay top dollar for this in a fish shop, while Tim cheekily asked if the fish had been released. Nice one, Tim. Great catch, Michael, and I bet it was delicious. Cooma local and Lake Eucumbene regular Ricky took this beautiful shot recently. It shows a stunning sunrise over Buckenderra with Ricky's rod ready for a bite. I could just sit and stare at it for ages, Ricky, but I better keep going with the report, mate. Living for many years just 400 metres from the water's edge, you'd think the last thing Tiny would do is get bogged. For the second time in 6 months. We saw Tiny bogged in a previous Eucumbene report. Well, as always, help wasn't far away, with Tiny getting a tow out from his daughter Kathleen.
Go!
Nice work, Kathleen. Oh, and we'll wait for the next time, Tiny. Well, Tiny wasn't the only one getting a little too close to the water during February. I'm not sure who got bogged here, but I bet it wasn't easy to get you out. Hopefully you weren't stuck there for too long. Well, if this was you or you helped get them out and you can send me some proof, I'll send you one of my Lake Eucumbene caps. We saw some great nostalgic pics sent in by John last year, and it's good to see him back in 2026. John posted these pics during the month that he took from his 1984 edition of Snowy magazine. Editors at the time, which included someone I knew well, Neville Fee, asked readers to choose names for the new Cabramatta accommodation buildings. The names put forward were Sioux City, King's Cross, Kenny's Knob, and Happy Jacks. The article goes on to explain the origin of these names. Well, I've travelled King's Cross Road, which is essentially the back road between Cabramatta and Mount Selwyn Ski Resort, hundreds of times, and have often wondered where the road got its name from. I cheekily thought it might have something to do with King's Cross in Sydney. Well, it seems I wasn't that far off. According to the Snowy magazine, King's Cross was named when someone with a vivid imagination recognised a similarity between the fork roads in that area and the famous junction in King's Cross, Sydney. King's Cross was established in the early 50s as a radio station linking Cooma with Cabramatta and the camps in that area. At the time, the main road passed through King's Cross to the contractors' camp at Tumut Pond Dam, but when construction finished, a new radio station was constructed at Cabramatta and King's Cross ceased to function. A very interesting find, John. Thanks for sharing with us. Lake Lover Jet posted these pics from one of her trips in 2025. Jet adding she can't wait to get back to the lake in a couple of months with hubby Ricky for another fish. Jet says Eucumbene just gets into your blood. She remembers the first time trolling the lake. She was so hesitant to get in the boat and had no idea what she was doing. She quickly got the hang of it and has loved it ever since. I can't wait to see you and Ricky back at Eucumbene soon, Jet. Philip posted this interesting pic, adding he wasn't sure of its age or value. Philip's post generated a lot of comments on the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group, with several saying they'd seen them before, Rion adding a photo of one he has himself. So what is it? It's a pretty cool car badge depicting the Snowy Mountains. Tim Corkle from the Snowy Mountains Museum in Adaminaby said it looked like it was likely to be from the late 50s or early 60s. Tim adding the museum would be really interested in acquiring the badge to add to its collection and for displaying to its visitors. Meanwhile, Doug mentioned these sorts of badges were common on cars through the 60s and 70s. To answer Philip's question on value, one of these badges were recently sold at auction for $115 following 22 bids. Thanks to Raw Shorty for the information. And thanks for sharing such an interesting post with us, Philip. Summer's a lovely time of year to visit Lake Eucumbene, especially if you don't enjoy the chills of winter. But also enjoying the warmer months are the snakes, and Warren came across one of them in late January.
So I just found a lovely copperhead just here. You can see one up in the grass, just moving there. Didn't quite tread on him. You've got to watch where you're going here.
Warren's post to the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group generated a lot of comments, including some more pics and videos of other snake sightings from around the lake. Mark was up at Hughes Creek about the same time as Warren and captured this copperhead swimming across the bay.
Is that a brown? Yeah. No, that's a copperhead.
Mark also seeing another snake at Hughes Creek as you enter the bay on the left-hand side. Mark adding Hughes Creek is notorious for big snakes in the summer months. Well, thanks for the post, Warren and Mark. I'll be sure to look a little more carefully at where I walk next time I'm up at the lake. Shane posted this pretty awesome pic recently. Shane trying Taku for the first time to immortalise a 60cm brown he caught up at Lake Eucumbene. A fantastic job, Shane, especially for a first attempt. It looks great. So if you're wondering what Taku is, well, it's a traditional Japanese art of printing fish, developed by fishermen in the mid-1800s to record their catches before photography, using ink on a fish pressed into paper with the eye painted in afterwards for realism. This natural printing technique from Jio, meaning fish, and Taku, meaning rubbing, has evolved from a practical record-keeping method of documenting size and type to a distinct art form, preserving the detailed image of the creature. And if you're interested to learn more, there are some amazing videos on YouTube showing you just how it's done. Thanks for such an amazing, interesting post, Shane. Dave was up at Old Adaminaby during February and enjoyed some glorious weather. The morning's particularly peaceful, with mist rolling across the lake. Here's a short video Dave took from Old Adaminaby.
Early morning mist blowing across the dam. Hope you can pick it up.
Tiny took the day off fishing and took Julie and the grandkids up to Eucumbene Caves. This is a pic of them at the entrance to the self-guided cave. I've been through this cave many times in the past, and it's fantastic for young and old. The walkthrough is safe, easy, and self-paced, and you'll spend most of your time looking up and down going, wow! It's well worth a visit next time you're up that way. See the National Parks and Wildlife Service website for costs and details. I might do a spotlight on this wonderful natural attraction in a future report. Lake regular Rodney was at Anglers Reach during the month for a fish. Rodney stayed at the Anglers Reach Lakeside Village and wanted to give a big shout out to Rose and Graham at the village, who were marvellous hosts. Rodney adding it was the first time he'd been up that way at this time of the year, but had a great time. Here's Rodney.
Another day done and dusted in Eucumbene, up here at Anglers Reach. 5 fish in 2 days, 7-hour drive, be back in winter. Awesome spot.
Rodney wrapped up his trip on the 7th of February and is already planning his next visit. See you soon, Rodney.
Oh well, till next time, Eucumbene. See you then.
We regularly see some of Jim's collection of great trout-catching flies in these reports. Jim also has a lot of lake history and wanted to share this pic with us. It was taken in 2009 at the stockyards when the lake was around 12%. Jim adding he remembered it felt surreal fishing in a spot that would normally be covered by 20 feet of water. Jim also said the bonus was walking the bank and collecting heaps of lures that had been snagged in the rocks and timber. So if you lost a lure just before 2009, Jim might have it. Paul posted a cool reel he saw on the net during February. It's a gadget designed to make it easy to keep worms on your hook. Now, I'm not sure where you'd get one, but if anyone's seen something similar, I'd love to know. I'll definitely find it useful. Karen is lucky enough to call Anglers Reach home, and she took this glorious shot of the sunset on February 3 from her veranda. Even the local hoppers are out enjoying the view. Thanks for such a wonderful pic, Karen. Cooma locals Mick and Tash took a trip to Maina in the Central Highlands of Tasmania during February to relax, rest and fish Great Lake. Mick and Tash enjoying the beauty and peace and quiet of this amazing part of Australia. The fish played their part to make the trip memorable, with Mick and Tash landing some great fish. Mick added the fish were caught trolling lures and windlining on the fly, where the fish were feeding on midges.
Look at the bow in that rod. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Guide's tag, Tash.
For those interested, Maina is a small town on the southern end of the Great Lake and has a population of around 120. The town is 1,052 metres above sea level. Accommodation around Maina includes lakeside hotels, self-contained lodges and shacks. Maina is well known for Great Lake fishing and its hydroelectric dam. Now we all know Coomer's pretty cold, but Maina is actually the coldest locality in Australia with its very cool summers and cold snowy winters. Snowfall at Maina is frequent and heavy, receiving 52 snow days a year, which can fall in any month, as can be seen in this video of Mick and Tash's dog Finn, who was out enjoying the summer snow in February.
Good boy.
Glad you had such a wonderful trip, Mick and Tash, and you've definitely inspired me to take a trip to the Great Lake one day. Jan was fly fishing the Eucumbene River near the old bridge at Denison during the month. Jan had 20 bumps with one take that she lost just as she was getting her net. Jan adding she was lucky enough to see a platypus having a ball in the water. She also saw a wedge-tail eagle taking a bunny and flying off with it. Well, that was quite a trip, Jan. Thanks for sharing. In last month's report, we saw an amazing reel of a mud-eye catching and eating a baby trout posted by Brian. Well, this month, Robert posted a wonderful reel by Fin Ripple Media showing a big brown ambushing a dragonfly. It's absolutely awesome. Just take a look at this. For Pick of the Month, I couldn't go past this wonderful capture by Jamie. Jamie recently took his 10-year-old son to the lake to photograph the stars for the first time. Jamie definitely wasn't expecting to see the Milky Way and the aurora, but was stoked that he did and was able to capture it with this amazing photo. It's a beauty, Jamie. Thanks for sharing with us. Well, as we've just seen, there have been some wonderful pics and videos shared this month. We all have seen them, and I'm always looking for more to share, so if you've been to Lake Eucumbene or region, please post your pic or video to the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group. If you don't have Facebook, you can email them directly to me at gunweather@optusnet.com.au. Keep sending them in, and you might see yours in a future report. Please remember to let me know a little about the pic or video so I can let others know. Also, the pics don't have to be fishing related or even recent. Historical or more nostalgic photos and videos are always welcome and enjoyed by all. This month's fishing meme was sent in by Jill. Be careful, it could be an online scam. Well, it's the sign of the times, Jill. Thanks for sharing. And don't forget, if you see a funny fishing meme, why not post it to the Lake Eucumbene Facebook group, and you might see it here in a future report. Anglers Reach legend Tiny Egan has an interesting lake fact for us in this month's Last Word. Here's Tiny.
So the tide's dropping, which actually makes, it's really weird in this lake, makes these tasty crustaceans run. Hard life.
Well, that's the report for February. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'm happy to take on any feedback or suggestions. And don't forget, if you're looking for more information on Lake Eucumbene, check out the social media channels. There's the website, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, and you'll be notified whenever I put a new video up. Have a great month, everyone. Stay safe and tight lines. Bye for now.